Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from AnthonyMorganti.com. This is episode 40 of Lightroom Quick Tips. In this episode, we're going to talk about raw files. Specifically, what if someone asked you to send them your edited raw file? If you ever did that or tried to do that, you might have found that if you just send them the raw file, they're going to get it without the edits. And it's kind of a weird, quirky thing a lot of people aren't aware of, but I'm going to show you how you could get around that. And I'd like to thank one of my students, Dennis, who gave me the idea to do this video. And I often encounter this. Often I'll ask my students to send me an edited raw file, and I have to explain to them how to do it. Because if you just send the raw file, the edits won't be included. And let me show you what I'm talking about. We have this image here. It's very heavily edited. As you can see, the basic panel alone has a lot of edits. I'm just going to go to the folder on my hard drive that contains this file, copy the file, and we're going to open it in another program. You're going to see that the edits won't come with it. So I'm going to right click on the image. I'm going to go down to Show in Finder. That opens up my Mac Finder, and it has the image highlighted right there. It's _lan 3711.nef. It's a Nikon RAW file. I'm going to copy it by hitting Command C, and I'm just going to paste it on my desktop. Now, my default program to open RAW files is Adobe Camera Raw. So I'm going to double click on it to open it. And you can see it opened in Adobe Camera Raw, but it's not edited at all. There's the vibrant edited image, and there's the drab unedited image. And you can see the basic panel Adobe Camera Raw doesn't have any of the sliders moved around, whereas the Lightroom basic panel, as you can see, I edited it. The sliders are all moved around. So this often happens. Well, first let's talk about a little bit about how Lightroom works. If you buy Lightroom 4, 5, 6, CC, it doesn't matter. If you download it from Adobe or if you have it in a box and you install it, by default, all the edits you do to raw files are going to be written to the catalog. They're never written to the raw file itself. That's a good thing. You don't want to write to the raw file because whenever you write to a file, you always run the risk of corrupting the file. So this way you never corrupt the file. You're writing the edits to the catalog. That's why when you take the raw file and send it to someone else, they're not getting any of the edits with it. Well, there's a few different ways around this. And one is I changed the default way that Lightroom writes the edits. Let me show you. If we go up, because I have a Mac, I go to Lightroom. I go down to Catalog Settings. If you have a PC, I'm pretty sure that's under Edit. You go to Catalog Settings, and if I go to the third tab, it's called Metadata, and I go down to the third checkbox, it says Automatically Write Changes into XMP. By default, when you buy Lightroom, this will not be checked. If you check this, Lightroom, instead of writing the edits to the catalog, will write the edits to a second file, and it's going to have the same exact name as your original file. In this case, it's _lan 3711, but the extension will be .xmp. So if we go back to the folder that contained my LAN 3711 file, and if I would have just scrolled down a little bit, you could see that there's one right next to it called _lan 3711.xmp. That is often called a sidecar file because depending on how you sort your folders, it's usually right next to the raw file. So we're going to copy that one and paste that with our raw file that we copied earlier. Now the sidecar file just has to be in the same folder as the raw file. And now when I double click and open this, you can see it opens in Adobe Camera Raw and it has all the edits. You can see that the sliders are all moved around. So Adobe Camera Raw now could read the edits. And that's something I should talk about too, is you're doing your editing in Lightroom. And these XMP files that I'm creating, you may choose to create too by checking this box, are going to be written to a secondary file. Not all programs will be able to read these edits. all Adobe programs obviously will read these edits. So Adobe Camera Raw will read it, Photoshop, stuff like that's going to read it. Anything made by Adobe will read it. Some secondary programs that might plug in to Lightroom and or Photoshop that work with raw files will obviously be able to read the edits, but not all programs will. For example, I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to go down to open with, and I'm just going to open up with the preview app. The preview app is the app that comes with Macs to read image files, and you could see that it does not see the edits, even though that sidecar file is right there. So just be aware of that. Now, um, advantages and disadvantage of creating the sidecar files. The disadvantage is your computer tends to run a little slower, supposedly, although I've never really experienced it. But I guess it makes sense. If you're always reading and writing and creating separate files, so you're going to open up this file and it also has to read this file, it will tend to work a little slower. Um, the other thing is you're going to have twice as many files on your hard drive. So if you just downloaded or imported 100 images into Lightroom, you're going to create 100 XMP files as well. So suddenly you're going to have 200 files in that folder. So you're going to have a lot more files. They don't take up much space. You can see this XMP file for this image is only 16 kilobytes. So that, by today's standard, that's nothing. But just be aware, you're going to have twice as many files. You're going to be taking up some extra disk space, and it may slow down Lightroom a little bit. That, you might not want to do. You might want to just keep creating or putting the edits in the catalog itself and not check this box. Well, how do you still then send this image off to someone, send the raw file off to someone with the edits? Well, what you would do is you would go up to File, Export. And if you could see here, it says Image Format JPEG. If you open that, you could see one of the choices is Original, right? Now we're not going to do Model Shoot Angela, so we're just going to call this Lake, all right? So I'm going to export it to my desktop, and I'm calling it Lake. And we're going to export it, and you can see it immediately did it. Now if we look at our desktop, we have that lake-1.nef, so it's the Nikon RAW file, and we have the sidecar file. And when I open it, all the edits are there. So that is the easiest way to do it, is to just export it. Export the original, and it will include a sidecar file with all your edits. Now, another way to do it, because sometimes these sidecar files seem to get lost, or people don't realize that that sidecar file is important and they delete it. So a way around that is we'll still export it, but instead of exporting the original, we're going to export a DMG file. A DMG file is Adobe's version of a RAW file. So it's still a RAW file. It's just Adobe's version of a RAW file, not Nikon's version of a RAW file. So we're going to export that. And it takes a little while for this now because it's actually creating that file. And you could see there's no sidecar file. And if we open that, it has the edits. Because with Adobe's DMG files, all the edits are written to the file. The advantage of that is it tends to run faster because the edits are contained in the file. So Adobe is just, or whatever program you're using, is just opening that one file. And it could read the edits because they're in that file. The disadvantage of that is because you're always writing to that original file, you run the chance of corrupting that file. Now I know it's minute, but it could happen. So if you have a really expensive image, you took the last known picture or you were out and you took one picture of Bigfoot, you got the most perfect picture and it proves it's Bigfoot, and you convert it to a DMG file, you get rid of the original RAW file, and you're writing to it, and something happens to your computer and you ruin the file. Then you're really in trouble if you don't have a backup. So that is a disadvantage. Now, I never tried to open this in a different program. Let's go to Open with Preview. See if it even opens. And it opened. Now that's curious. It opened without the edits. So even though it's a DMG file and the edits are inside the file, still Preview could not read any of the edits. So that's not, I would have said that would have been a great advantage if these secondary programs such as Preview or, you know, other things like View and things like that that show image files, if it would have read the edits inside of a DNG, that would have been a great advantage, but obviously it doesn't. So that's it. That's how you would send someone an edited RAW file and make sure that they get the edits. Thank you, everyone that watches my videos. Guys, if you could do me a humongous favor, as you know, all my videos are free. They're always going to be free. If you just go to my website, anthonymorganti.com, go to the top, it says I need your help. If you click on that link, there's all different ways you could support me and what I'm trying to do. You could be, there's links here where if you buy anything at Amazon, you're my affiliate, or I'm an affiliate at Amazon, and I'd make a small percentage of your sale. Every little bit helps. Patreon, if you pledge $1 a month, $12 a year, it really does help. I'd really like to upgrade my video equipment so I could make better videos. A lot of other things I'd like to do. Really do appreciate everyone's help. I really do appreciate everyone watching my videos. Thank you very much. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.